What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Who You Got With.
Mellow.
And Rado is a sports podcast where we talk about your favorite sports matchups, sports highlights, and sports debates. And we got a hell of a matchup. It's UFC fight weekend.
UFC, baby. I love fight weekends, man.
Ooh, tell me about it, man. It's the middle of February right now. We're talking about UFC 271 coming up in this upcoming Saturday, and we definitely want to talk to you guys about it. It's going to be a hell of a fight.
Now, that not only do we have two great co-main events within the top three fights, but we have four of the top five middleweights clashing with each other. That's just it's so exciting for not just UFC itself, but like that card specifically holds a lot of the future of this middleweight division in its hands.
Exactly, the middleweight for sure. The three fights we're here to talk about today. We're going to talk about obviously the two co-main events with Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa, and of course Adesanya and Whitaker. But that first fight we definitely wanted to get into, and that's going to be a great fight. I mean, Derek Brunson versus Jared Cannonier is going to be an amazing fight, and let's talk about all three of those. You know, those are going to be great fights. Let's start up with the first one if you want.
Yeah, like I said, number 3 ranked Jared Cannonier. Definitely don't know how to say that man's name. I just call him Canny.
Got it. Cannonier. Got it.
Exactly. And number 4 ranked Derek Brunson. And like just to have both of them, they were supposed to actually fight on 270.
Yes.
But it got rescheduled. To this day, we still don't know why they didn't fight. No one actually released or told us. But the fact that it got put right on the card where the belt is being fought for, it just lines everyone up for perfect timing. But I'll be honest, man, this is going to be a very, very good fight. I mean, both of them right now have very good, pretty much good resume to be considered the number one contender. Obviously, besides Whitaker, and the only one ahead of them is Martin Vettori. But I'll be honest, Vettori's a little too inactive for me. Like I don't like how little he fight. And so I feel like you can't be a top contender in the top 3 and just not fight. So yeah, I definitely I like what both of these fighters bring to the table. Honestly, Brunson's been real serious on a 5-0 run. His last loss being to Adesanya and Whitaker. Those last two people he lost to. Same thing with Cannonier, 4-1 at middleweight, only losing to Whitaker. So right now, pretty much besides Whitaker and Adesanya, it seems like both of these fighters are top notch and top of their division. So it's definitely gonna be some fireworks in there. Like you rarely have a middleweight matchup where they're not throwing bombs at each other. Like that's the prime weight class for when it comes to athleticism, power, and speed, just all mixed in one.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Especially power and speed.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what I'm saying, and that's for them. It's a perfect weight for all of it to be combined at the best of its ability. And both of these fighters, Brunson and Cannonier, have that type of ability. So I think it's going to be a little exciting because Brunson fight at the southpaw, so it's always a little bit harder for orthodox fighters when they ended up facing a southpaw, especially when it comes to you got to watch not just striking from the feet or not just striking from the hands. All right, so quick technical difficulties. But you know me, I ain't gonna stop talking, so we're gonna get right back to my point. With the southpaw stance, Brunson's gonna try to use that and try to get Cannonier on the ground. And honestly, Cannonier's a little bit more of an evolved boxer. He's gonna try to keep it on his feet, use his reach, and he actually has very prolific takedown defense. So it can go to the ground. It will go to the ground. But I definitely think both fighters are going to want to have the fight ended on their feet, you know. So I definitely think it's going to be a good fight. But Brunson coming in with the height advantage and the way he's been looking for the last couple of fights, I give him a slight edge, and he's not even a betting favorite right now. But I think a lot of people are underlooking him. But like it's hard. This is a real pick-me fight. Like I said, number 3 versus number 4. Who are you going to go with, man?
I mean, it's a tough fight to pick, and you laid it out pretty well, and you're right. I mean, Brunson is not the favorite, but I mean, he has a lot more experience than Cannonier. If you just look at the record, Brunson's 23-7 and Cannonier 14-5. If you look at even the stats, Brunson's definitely got a little bit on him on reach, on the height, on leg reach. You know, so he's definitely got a few things there. obviously he's definitely the more experienced fighter, and you know, for him it's gonna be a ground game. I think. I don't think he's gonna want to go in to Cannonier. You know, he's not gonna want to just keep moving forward towards him, because Cannonier's the type of guy that he likes to go face to face with you. I think the type of fight that Darren's gonna need to fight is down on the ground. To be honest, like he's gonna need to get Cannonier down on the ground, make sure that he gets control, because this is the type of fight he can win. If this is a stand-up fight, to be honest, I think that this is definitely going to be going on Cannonier's side, even though, you know, like I said, the taller guy is Darren, but I do believe that stand-up fighting, you got to give the Cannon, you know, you got to get him the edge overall. I do think if in the first round, if you know, one guy is able to push the other guy towards the fence, then that's gonna be huge, because neither one of these guys, they don't play good when their back is on the fence, and you know they're basically having to play like forward with the back against the fence. They don't come out of that very well. So that's gonna be interesting to see in the first round. But I do think that if this goes on to the later rounds, if there's no knockout in the first round, in the later rounds, I do think that, you know, you're actually gonna see the Cannonier is actually the more technical fighter and a little bit more skilled. I mean, I love Darren Brunson's story, though. Brunson's story is amazing. You know, you kind of wanted to see him get a title shot, but I mean, you know, it's been 10 years that he's been in the UFC, and right now, I guess you could say he's had like a 4-win or a 4-fight, you know, a good fight streak. And is it the time for him, you know, to actually make that jump? Make this a statement win for him and take it over the top and keep going. I don't know. I think, to me, I really believe that Cannonier's the more technical fighter, the more skilled fighter. The only way that Brunson wins is if he gets on the ground and gets control and actually knocks him, like tries to get a knockout or some sort of submission. I just don't see this going into the third round and into a you know, a decision and Darren Brunson winning. So honestly, I got this fight in a decision, though, but I do have a Cannonier winning. I do think that he's gonna win probably all 3 rounds. What about you, though? What's your prediction for this fight?
So I did very horrible on 270. Lost pretty much almost every fight. So knowing that I'm going with the non-favorite and Brunson, I feel like I need to be bold.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
So
Look,
I'll go third round knockout by Brunson.
Yeah.
Right at the end, they're gonna try to stand a little bit toe to toe, and Brunson's gonna catch him slipping. And after he spent a little more time in the first and second round, tying him out on the floor.
Yeah. So you know what? I could see, especially if he tires him out on the floor.
Yeah.
That could definitely very well happen. I think that if it does stay on the like up top in that third round, I do think the guy's gonna go for it is probably gonna be Cannonier, because I think that, you know, Darren knows that he's had a chance. I know he's gonna try to go for it too, but like I said, I just feel the more technical fighter is gonna win at the end. But hey, you know, if it's a knockout, I do believe that, you know, Darren could get that knockout for sure. So good enough.
Nah, I definitely either way, it's gonna be a lot of highlights in this fight for sure.
Yeah, man.
Both got chins, so like it's not like they won't. Like, they're gonna get hit. Like there's gonna be a lot of highlights. So you're gonna see some good fighting. I think that both of them. That's what I love about title fights. I love like real top contenders, the way they really come out there and make those adjustments in between rounds. So this is something I'm looking forward to this fight, as well as the main fight as well. But really the adjustments that the corners will be making between both of these fighters. Because I expect to see like. I know you don't necessarily go into a whole new game plan after round 1, but sometimes after round 1, you really realize what's going to work, what's not going to work. Here's what we stick to. So I do think that they throw a couple different looks at each other in this fight to try to pull something out of each other. So I definitely think it's going to be a good fight, though, for sure.
No, I definitely think I was thinking about this fight if it's going to be the fight of the night. You know, I was going back and forth, but, you know, I'm not going to call this one the fight of the night, because I do think it's going to be a tough fight. I do think both of them have strong chins, so I don't really see I don't really see them like getting hit with punches and getting knocked down that much. Like they can handle their punches. Like if it's a knockout punch, that's different. But as far as like, those punches that you get hit and you just get knocked back and knocked down, I don't believe that it's gonna be too much of that. But I do think it's gonna be a great fight overall, and that's why I really have a decision. But for sure, either way, I think that this is definitely an interesting fight though, because whoever wins, what happens next with these two fighters, and especially with the winner? That's what I really want to ask.
Yeah, pretty much. Do the winner get a title shot? Because right now, obviously, Robert Whitaker is number one. He's fighting the champ. The only one in front of both of these two, in between Whitaker and Adesanya, is Martin Vettori. And like I said, I personally feel like he's a little too inactive for me.
I agree.
Besides losing to Adesanya, he only fought Costa. It's been almost 2 years. So it's like, for me, I do think the winner of this fight gets a title shot, 100%.
Yeah, man. See, I tend to agree. I think that like it's gonna be a title shot no matter what. Like if Cannonier wins, then he's for sure gonna be fighting whoever wins out of the Adesanya Whitaker fight. Most likely it will be Adesanya, but we'll talk about that later. But I mean, for Brunson, it's been 10 years. I know that he's waited for this moment. Like if he gets this moment, and let's say he has to fight Adesanya again, it's gonna be something that people have already seen, and I don't know if people really want to see that again, but I do think he would deserve a shot. So I do think whoever wins this is going to deserve that title shot.
Oh yeah, because if Whitaker loses, that's 2 times to him. Vettori absolutely looked trash. He's like they're not even looking at him for another shot, and that's what he don't understand. He's gonna have to win a few fights more again. Like, he thinks he can just go win against 1 or 2 people and stay right. Like, you could be the number one all you want. You like right now, it's been a couple different fights, or a couple fights between Cannon and Brunson between when they last fought either Adesanya or Whitaker, and both of them have been on a streak since then. All Vittori's offer is 1 win over Paul Costa. So I definitely can't. I don't see Vettori taking a shot. I don't see Whitaker getting a third match. So it's definitely whoever wins this.
I don't either. Especially, I mean, especially if
they know it
again, then I don't think it's happening.
And they both know. Both Cannonier and Brunson know whoever wins this gets a title shot. They know it.
Right. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later once we talk about the Adesanya fight, and we'll see what happens. We'll talk about what happens next after that fight too. So
that's a fact.
We'll definitely get into that a little more. But this next one, the co-main event. Ooh, tell me you're not excited about this one.
Oh man, this is about to be a banger.
Yo, I swear this might be the most exciting fight ever that people know is going to be only like maybe 1 minute or 1 round, but they got it as a 5-rounder. But hey, I'm just saying, we never know, but we kind of know with these type of guys. So, I mean, we're definitely talking about the heavyweight matchup with, Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa. Obviously, Tai Tuivasa, he's been moving up in the ranks steadily. Beat Greg Hardy, moving on up. Obviously, people know him for him doing his shoeys. That's what he's kind of popular for, pouring a beer in the shoey and drinking that.
Now he's trying to do one out of a cup. Stop it.
I feel like you got enough adrenaline. Like after a fight, winning a fight, you just don't care. You know what I mean? So I guess I could like leave him with that. But then you got obviously the most amazing knockout artist in the UFC that the UFC's ever had, for sure. This is going to be an amazing fight. I don't know. Who you got for this one? This is a great fight to talk about.
Honestly, man, like you said, it's just definitely about to be some fireworks. I do think it's going to go at least more than 1 round, but I don't think it's going to go more than 2. So I definitely think they're going to fill each other out a little bit in the first round. But I'll be honest, they might just not. They really might just not, man, because they're both hard-hitting heavyweights that love to bang. Obviously, Tai Tuivasa has some good knockouts. He loves to throw hands. But Derek is clearly the best right hand in the UFC right now. Obviously, 13 KOs. He definitely got that right hand. At the end of the day, I'll be honest, almost every heavyweight that Derek Lewis faced is more skilled than him, if you're being completely honest. Like, his conditioning and the rest of his skills besides that right hand is pretty trash. Tuivasa, he likes to push his little pace. He likes using his low kick to set up some combos. So that's why I think both of them with the brawler style. I don't see how it goes past 1 or 2 rounds. And like I said, I'm gonna give it 2, but more than likely it ends in the first round. first one that lands a clean shot's pretty much gonna win it, and they're both gonna stay in each other's range enough times to do that, you know. So Ty, like I said, uses speed and kicks. Lewis actually will take a beating and be patient to find his shot. And obviously with Tai Tuivasa's fighting style, I'll be honest, he do leave himself open a lot.
Yeah.
So this is just a setup to where like literally someone's getting knocked out. Like clear as day, someone's about to get their lights put out. And I'll be honest, I want to go to Tuivasa because at the end of the day, like I don't like Lewis. I don't want to say I don't like Lewis, but I don't like that he doesn't have anything else other than the right hand. Because any real heavyweight wants to decide to not deal with that. They all know how to stop it.
True.
It's not like he's unbeatable. You know what I'm saying? I want to go with Ty. I definitely want to go with Tuivasa. But I think that unfortunately Tuivasa is maybe even less evolved in the mind game. And I think he's gonna play into Derek Lewis's game of standing there in the pocket and going blow for blow. Because if you got to remember, everyone loved when he knocked out Greg Hardy, but he knocked out Greg Hardy by throwing a punch while he almost was getting knocked out.
True. He was getting knocked back, and
he was literally like, and he just caught a punch, and like he like I said, if Greg Hardy, if he didn't hit that uppercut and he actually fell, and Greg Hardy got on top of him, that fight would have ended in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think that he's gonna end up getting caught again, and I think it's gonna be a knockout by Lewis, and I'll give it round 2.
Wow. So it's interesting though, because Tai Tuivasa, I don't think he's been knocked out before. So that's very interesting for me. And
that's what I'm saying. He almost got caught by Greg Hardy.
That's true. He did almost get caught, and he definitely almost got knocked out. You could definitely see it in his eyes. He was moving backwards and slipping. For me, like, I agree with a lot of your points. I think that this is a interesting matchup for Lewis. I think this is probably the best matchup for Lewis because Tai Tuivasa is not the type of guy that's going to look for knockdowns, you know, or he's not going to try to like take him down. And, you know, the one thing about Lewis, like you said, he does have the stand-up, well, really the stand-up right and the knockout right. He does have a few jabs that he can throw in there, but I think that Tai Tuivasa is the perfect fighter for him to fight because Tai likes to go forward, you know, and Lewis likes to have the guy in his face. And even though the one thing that Tai Tuivasa, he's definitely faster than Derek Lewis. You definitely see it. He has the combinations that Lewis doesn't have, and also he does have the shin kicks that he utilizes, which I rarely see Lewis use. Like rarely.
No, not at all.
One thing we're gonna need to watch, especially if the fight keeps going on, is the conditioning, because everyone knows that Derek Lewis definitely has trouble going past like second and third round. This is a co-championship matchup, so it's a 5-rounder. I kind of, you know, tend to agree with you that it's not gonna be a first round knockout. Just because I do think they're gonna be feeling each other, but I also think that the way that Derek Lewis is gonna have an advantage in this is he's gonna try to, you know, get on top of Tai Tuivasa. If it does happen, like if they happen to like fall down or, you know, Derek Lewis is going to use that weight, get on top of Tuivasa, and utilize a lot of that time so you can get back his conditioning. Because I do think that, you know, Derek Lewis is the best in the first minute of every round. Like the first 30 seconds of a minute, that's where he goes off. And I do think that for matchup wise, it's definitely in Derek's favor. Tuivasa, you definitely saw, you know, a lot of things from him. You see him definitely build on his career in the UFC. For me, this is definitely about matchups. I just think that right now, Derek Lewis, he definitely has a chance to knock this guy out, even though he's never been knocked out before. So honestly, I do agree with you that it's going to be a knockout. But I got the third round, actually. I think that yeah, and I know that I said in the beginning, I was like, yeah, this might be the most exciting fight to only go 1 minute. You know, a lot of people are talking like that, but I do think that, like you said, they're going to fill each other out. I do think it's going to be on the ground a little bit. You know, most likely Derek Lewis is going to get on top of Tai and stay there for 2 minutes out of the second round, maybe, or first round. We'll see. So I do think that in that third round is when they actually start really using all their energy, and I do think the guy gets knocked out is Tai, just because he leaves himself open when he goes forward. And Derek Lewis, sometimes when he gets hit, he might look like he's like out of it for a second, but even as he's moving backwards,
he does that.
Yeah, he still comes back and he knows what he's doing. He does that like on purpose.
Yeah, he makes them think that they can come in just so he could throw it right. No, that's all he does. I'm saying he'll take a beating just so look for that shot. Literally.
A lot of people fall for it too. They definitely fall for it. So I think that, this type, I mean, another thing is it is in Houston. Derek Lewis did lose last time he was in Houston. It's
yeah, but it was still a game.
It was still a game for sure, but obviously, it's his hometown. So you want to show out for the home crowd. I do think that he's going to be back with a vengeance, trying to show out for the home crowd again. To give him most likely is going to be the fight of the night for me. I actually have this as the fight of the night just because of the knockout explosion. I do think that once they go at each other, is going to be like a crazy 30 to 40 second. Like you're going to hear the announcers going off like, "Oh, you seen this? Crazy." So I do think this is going to go off as the fight of the night, and it's going to be a third round knockout for Derek Lewis.
Nah, I definitely think it's going to be a knockout for Lewis. I think before the third, but either way, Lewis should be walking away with this. This is a perfect matchup for him. Yeah, definitely, man. I hear you on that. So glad we agree on the fight. Obviously, different rounds, both knockouts for Lewis. But that definitely begs the question: what's next for Derek? If he wins, how close is he to a title shot?
See, it's tough for me, man, because I mean, obviously he lost to Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane couldn't beat Ngannou. But then do you put like Derek Lewis against Cyril Gane again if he wins this? Let's say he wins. Do you have him go up against a guy like Cyril for a rematch? I don't think that a title match is right there hanging for him. I think that it would have to be another fight with Gane, and then possibly the matchup with Ngannou. I know everyone wants to see that Ngannou Derek Lewis fight, and I want to see it too. But I just don't think that people know that at this point Ngannou's way better than Derek Lewis. So if they just put him out right there after this fight, I think that even the betting odds are going to be like crazy, like probably like 600 or more for Ngannou. That's why I do think that he needs another fight, probably to Cyril Gane, do a rematch with them, see what happens, and then after that we can talk about another fight. But I mean, if Tai Tuivasa wins, he's been steadily moving up in the ranks. Right now he's 11. I don't see why. I don't see why he couldn't get a fight with Gane either. That would be an interesting fight to me. Tai Tuivasa and Cyril Gane, similar body styles. Gane is definitely slightly better on the ground. But I think that would be an even fight too. What about you?
So with Derek getting a title shot, I think the only way that happens is if Francis decides he wants his rematch. That's basically one of the only few losses he has.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the end of the day, I think he's gonna be top 5 heavyweight. He's a big seller.
Yeah.
But all he is there to sell tickets. I'll be honest. He can't compete with the top heavyweights. They all know how to defuse that right hand. They're not gonna fall into his game. And I don't think he beats Francis, Cyril Gane, or Stipe. You gotta forget, Stipe is the #1 contender. He hasn't fought since he lost to Francis, but he's still there. You know what I'm saying?
I think you're right. He can beat him too.
Exactly. So I definitely think he's gonna stay in the top as a top contender. But the only way he gets a title shot is if Francis wants his revenge, and it's not gonna be based off his skill. So I definitely cause I already feel like all the top dogs already know what to do with Derek Lewis, which is why they gave him one last chance with Cyril Gane. Think about it, Stipe could have been in there, but I'll be honest, man. Like Dana knew what he was doing when he put Cyril Gane against Derek Lewis.
Trying to sell money, trying to sell tickets in Houston.
Exactly.
Like, he knew
that's all he was doing, and that's what it was. He already had Houston and Derek Lewis set, but Francis wouldn't agree to that short of a timeline after winning the belt. So that's why Dana said, "Fuck that! I'm making the IC belt and I'm bringing Cyril Gane in." So like that's pretty much what happened there. So I don't think Lewis gets a shot. You got Stipe. At the end of the day, I think another top contender that people forget about that's been kind of up and coming is Curtis Blades. The only thing he's actually done in the last few fights bad is lose to Derek Lewis.
He did, yeah. It was too recent for him to get another shot with Derek Lewis, though. Honestly, I think I do think that Stipe would be an interesting fight again with Derek Lewis, but I do think Miocic is definitely more experienced and definitely knows a lot more different techniques than just a stand-up game. So I think I gotta agree with you, man. I just think I would like to see another Cyril Gane and Lewis fight and see if Lewis learned anything from that first one.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I don't think that's happening next. I think Derek Lewis has to work his way up to Cyril Gane again, because Cyril Gane literally like it was a boring fight for most people's standards because Lewis couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
So I think unless Lewis improves, he don't get another shot at Cyril Gane. But going off Tai Tuivasa, he's ranked 11 right now.
Oh, yep, he's 11.
So like I said, Francis, Stipe, Cyril Gane, Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades. He's not going higher than those 5.
Yeah, of course not. No way
So
he
I think he can jump to 6.
Beating one of
Right.
those.
Yeah. And then Curtis Blades is a lot hotter right now. So I think he jumps to number 6, right behind Curtis Blades.
Right. I think he'll definitely jump at number 6. I do think that because Cyril Gane Cyril Gane just fought, and if Tai wins this, I do think that they match him up against each other. I do think that happens.
No, they might have at top 5, at top 6. At that point, you're facing someone in the top 5.
Right, 6 versus 3 or something like that.
Yeah. At that point, you're facing someone in the top 5.
Moved up, I think. Yeah, number 2.
I don't even know what's going on with Stipe, man. Like, we gotta figure out. Like, my man literally has his last 3 fights are Francis, DC, and DC. My nigga.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
how long has DC not been in the fucking league?
I mean, a long time, but he's also had injury issues. So
and then we had COVID and stuff. Like, yeah, it's been delayed, but no, I definitely gotta see a lot more activity out of Stipe in this year for sure.
Right. I think he's gonna have a fight, yeah, but we'll see. But anyways, this is like we both got this in a knockout, the Tuivasa versus Lewis fight, so that's gonna be dope.
Yeah, no, and pretty much those are the top 2 fights, or first 2 fights of the main card that we wanted to talk about. Obviously, one of them is the co-main. The other one is top 2 contenders in the middleweight division. More than likely, both of these fights are ending in knockout. First one might go a little more to decision. But then we got basically what we all came here for, which is the main event. Mm-hmm. The middleweight belt of the UFC. And to a lot of people, obviously, like I said, the heavyweight man in the UFC is the baddest man on the planet. But at the end of the day, I will throw this out there because I'll be honest, I disagree with this. That was like, if you take the heavyweight champion and make him lose weight, he beats everyone else as a champion. And no, he don't.
I don't agree either. Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that necessarily.
You take Francis and take his skills and drop him down to 185. He's gonna have some problems.
Of course, it's totally different.
You know what I'm saying? It's exactly, and that's why I said the middleweight division is the prime division. So for me, I don't want to say the middleweight champion is the baddest man in the world, but like whoever holds his belt is a bad man. You know what I'm saying? Like we just talked about.
Adesanya is undefeated in the middleweight.
He's a bad man right now.
He's only
he jumped up.
Yeah, so
and I think his mistake in that was not gaining the weight needed.
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
But he could have came in a little bit more bulkier. But he thought he could do it. At the end of the day, he definitely has done light heavyweight in kickboxing.
But there was a 40-pound difference, though. That's huge. 40 pounds.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I feel like he could do it a better way, then he'll have a way better result. But either way, what we're here for tonight is to talk about the fight this weekend. That's obviously champion Israel Adesanya versus number 1 contender Robert Whittaker. Basically a rematch from UFC 243 in 2019, where Whittaker had the belt. And this was Adesanya winning the belt, stepping up on the scene. And it's been fireworks for both of them since.
It's true.
So both of them are on a 3-fight win streak, and Izzy's last 3 fights have looked damn near flawless. For him, the 3-fight win streak is in middleweight because he got that 1 loss in light heavyweight. Right. But I'll be honest, like it's a big fight. It's a good fight. Robert Whittaker is gonna come out, but like at the end of the day, they're both gonna trade some blows. They're both gonna go ham. But like Izzy definitely dominated him in that first fight.
He did, yes. I'm glad
He
you think
dominated
so.
the fuck out of him.
Glad you think so too.
That's the thing. People gotta realize, like he
That's
got knocked out in the end of the first round, and the bell saved him. He was able to go back to his corner. Like
yes.
he never recovered from that, and then got put to sleep in the second round. Like you know what I'm saying? But since then, both have won 3-0. Both have improved. Like Whitaker has improved a lot as a fighter in these last 3 years, for 100%. So I think it's gonna be a great fight. That first fight was actually the only time Izzy was an underdog, and that definitely won't be the case now. I mean, what he's gonna do this time and what he did the first time was he was a tremendous job countering anytime Whitaker entered his pocket, and Whitaker couldn't do nothing. What he was just basically throwing nothing just to get hit in the face.
Right.
And you know Izzy, he's gonna hit you, fight at his range, stay with that long stiff jab, keep his footwork, and just dash, get out of there. You know, so I think Whitaker was a little too impatient the first fight. He's going to be a lot more patient this fight. He knows that for sure. He says he had some issues with Izzy getting into his head also back then. So I definitely think even in the mental aspect, Whitaker is definitely more evolved fighter. But the problem is, so is Izzy.
Yeah,
At the
man.
end of the day, Izzy has improved in every aspect of his game since that fight too, and that includes the mental aspect. So I think Whitaker is going to try to throw some late kicks, try to counter better when Izzy's a little bit more of an aggressor and be less of an aggressor himself. And obviously, when he is an aggressor, don't sit there and throw just shots. You know what I'm saying? He was throwing bad combos and getting lit up.
Yep.
He was getting absolutely lit up that first fight. And that's going to probably be his biggest thing is to try not to get knocked out.
Yeah, man.
Because he knows that he can't go in there and just not protect yourself. But at the end of the day, Izzy's the best, literally the best in the UFC at playing his game and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Literally the best. No one else goes in there with a game plan like Izzy and execute it better than him. As simple as that. No one else. So I think just like the first one, man, it's gonna be a win for the champion. I think he keeps his belt. I think it goes to the decision though. Like I said, both of those fighters, because like I said, Izzy's not stupid. He comes prepared. He knows Robert is a way better fighter. Both
Right.
of them be a lot more patient, a lot less active.
Right.
Obviously the middleweight, so they're gonna throw blows, but like I said, the man Whitaker got knocked out twice. You know, within the first round and a half. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's gonna happen again. They both got chins, so definitely see it be a little bit more fill each other out. I think Izzy will be a little bit more aggressive, but as always, when he chooses to, I'll be honest, if it doesn't go to a decision, then Izzy knocks him out in the fourth.
Yeah, see,
decision because I think Izzy's really gonna try to not, play into his game because he know he's facing a way more dangerous Robert Whitaker. So I think he's aware of that. But if it does go to a point where they start trading blows, Izzy's gonna knock him out in the fourth.
I mean, Whitaker's definitely gotten better in the last 3 years, that's for sure. But like you said, I think Adesanya's gotten a lot better as well. I tend to agree with you. I do think that the fight is gonna be a little bit of a slower fight. They're gonna pick and choose their spots. It's gonna, especially the first 2 rounds. I do think they're gonna be away from each other a little bit and really just picking their spots. Obviously, Whitaker fights a more orthodox stance, but the style bender, he chooses. That's why he's named the style bender. He chooses what he wants to fight, and first he feels you out, and if he doesn't like the way he's fighting, he'll change up his whole stance. So, I think I tend to agree that I think he's one of the most talented fighters the UFC has ever had, for sure. In this fight, I do think it's gonna be similar to the first fight. To be honest, for me, I don't see this. I do think, like I said, it's going to be a little bit less of, punching in the first round. I do think they're going to feel each other out. But once it gets to the third and fourth round, I think you're definitely going to see Adesanya's skill come out. For me, the only way that Whitaker wins this fight is if it's a really narrow victory by him. That's the only way that he can win it. It's got to be a gritty, narrow victory. He's going to have to hold on to the clinch a lot with Adesanya, not make sure he doesn't get on the ground, because honestly, on the ground, I think Adesanya is one of the best in the middleweights. For me, this fight is going to be a little bit different than the first one, for the fact that once they get on the ground, I think Adesanya's submission game has gotten so much better. Like, probably like 100% better from the first time this fight happened. So, you know, for me, this is going to be interesting because you're going to see another side of it. You're going to see Izzy actually get a submission against the guy that he knocked out. I think this is going to go in the 4th round in a submission, actually. I really think that if it does go, you know, to a decision, then it's going to be narrow. It really is going to be narrow and close.
Yeah.
Especially if they try to keep the fight, you know, away from each other and they're not like throwing too many punches. This is not going to be a type of fight where you see like 250 to 300 punches thrown. It's going to be like around that 100, 150 range, like maybe 150, you know. So it's definitely going to be a lot less. I do think the ground game is going to come into play definitely in the 3rd and 4th round. And I do think that the better ground fighter is Adesanya for sure. I think he's going to show off his submission. And honestly, I have this as a rear naked choke in the 4th round. Adesanya getting the rear naked. Yeah. I think this is definitely going to be interesting if you know there's a few punches that if he gets hit with a few punches Adesanya, that is. But you know, I think like you said, they both have good chins. It's hard for both of these guys to really get knocked out. But the better fighter on the ground, I'm looking at the biggest matchup disparity is on the ground. And Whitaker doesn't have the ground game like Adesanya does. In the submission game, he definitely doesn't have. So I just got this one to Adesanya. I think he keeps the belt. And I think people are going to start noticing him as probably one of the best UFC fighters to ever step in the league. I mean, you really have to start looking at him that way. He's had title defenses. He tried to move up, yes, and he didn't win that. But if you look at just his division as a middleweight,
some of the best fighters in the UFC never even attempted to be double champ.
Right. And I mean, like I said, if you look at just UFC middleweight, he is 21-0. You know, will be 22-0.
Ran through the division twice, bro.
Beat everyone twice. So
at least,
yeah, at that point you got to put him at like the Hall of Fame in the UFC. I mean, at least one of the best, especially like one of the best middleweights for sure, but probably one of the best all time.
That's a fact. Yeah, so that begs the question. A couple different questions about this fight. Like we said, the four top 5 fighters in the middleweight division are fighting this fight. So it's a lot of middleweight potential just going on, and obviously this plays such a big part in it. Right. So if Izzy wins, what do you think is next for him? What do you think is his next opponent?
So yeah, like we were saying,
the fighter in the first fight, right?
So that was the thing. Right. If Izzy wins, then definitely one of the fighters in the first fight, either Darren or Cannonier is going to take that fight. But it's interesting. If Whitaker happens to win this fight, I think that Vettori does get a chance against Whitaker. I do think that they'll put him stylistically. They match up pretty well. They're around the same, reach and around the same height. So I do think that stylistically they would match up well.
But, yes, and Whitaker beat both Brunson and Cannonier recently.
Yeah, beat them both. Yeah, so
I definitely see that as well, and that's the only way Vettori gets a title shot. But I'll be honest, there's still an even better chance than that they honestly still skip Vettori.
Yeah, well, if Whitaker wins, then I do see it being a trilogy.
The fact that they're fighting, like if Whitaker wins, they're not gonna let Izzy not get a chance for his belt, especially if it's like some real slim decision.
True.
They're running that shit right back.
I take that back. You're probably right. Yeah, if Whitaker wins, it'll be a trilogy. But after that, anything can happen. But Adesanya, I do think that Cannonier, I think he has a chance, man. The thing with Brunson, man, I think he's just a few years too late, man. If he had this run a few years ago in the UFC, man, I think he definitely could be up there. Because it seems like right now at the end of his career, he's almost in his prime, but. It's tough. You're fighting guys that are like 10 years younger than you when they definitely got a lot more energy and a lot faster. So.
No, but I would say that's the beauty of that division, the middle division. I mean, at the end of the day, you had your Romero as one of the top contenders, and he was getting up there.
Yeah.
For a while.
Hey, I'm not saying the older guys can't do it, because I mean, you saw DC do it too at his older age. I mean, you see John Jones trying to get back in.
I would say Teixeira just basically won the light heavyweight belt.
38.
He's like 39. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is he? Let me see.
Yeah, I mean Teixeira
like 33.
He's been
42.
Yeah,
Nigga's 40.
I thought he was like 39. I didn't know he was 30.
Yeah, he's 42. I thought he was like 32. Yeah, he's 42 and just won his belt.
Crazy.
In a light heavyweight division, tough division.
It's tough, but once you're in the middleweight though, like we both said, the middleweight you need a lot more skills, you need a lot more speed, and you lose that speed when you get older. Heavyweights, yeah, it's a little different, especially if you're not getting knocked out as much. You can kind of, you can have your punch power could still be there, but speed can't get that back.
No, I definitely hear you. So I definitely think that either way, Izzy wins. Fighter of the first fight gets a fight. If Izzy lose, Izzy gets a title rematch right away. There's no way in hell they're gonna let anyone skip Izzy. No way in hell.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially if it's 1-1 against each other on this. Yeah. I would say so. It'll probably be like UFC 275. We would see it again. But if Adesanya wins, there's no way Whitaker's getting another title shot for at least 2 more fights. Like he would need 2.
No way he's getting a title shot with Izzy again.
Not with Izzy, but yeah.
He started to run through the division twice. So like I said, at the end of the day, Brunson or Cannonier will get a shot before him. At that point, maybe Paulo Costa gets another shot, depending on if he's active. I think even Vittori at that point, he don't get the next shot, but he might get a shot before Whitaker. If Whitaker loses, he don't fight champ if it's Izzy.
And also, we got to put in there. I mean, this guy's just moving up in the ranks. I think right now he's like 19th or something. But Nurmagomedov, Khabib's brother. I mean, he's in this division too, so he's moving up. And I don't think he has a loss. I think he's like 8-0 right now, 9-0. So.
And he's doing real good.
Yeah, he's doing crazy.
I don't think he got the levels to chill to hang with these people yet.
No, I mean he's around like 19th right now, so he's gonna need a few more fights. But I'm just saying, like he's moving up in the rankings fast. Like 9 fights and he's moving up. So I definitely think he could definitely have a chance in the future. We're talking like 2-3 fights in the future.
Nah, more than that.
I mean, depends on. Look, man, the way that Taito Uvasa's been moving up, he only needed about like 3-4 good fights for him to move up in this level. So
slim heavyweight division.
I agree that it's like more, more excitement.
You get your shots. There's a reason why Derek Lewis stays in the top 5 and gets handed 1 loss every 3 fights.
For sure, there's a lot less of them, a lot less in that division.
There's no one to drop him under. Like, who are you going to convince me that has no name that's better than Derek Lewis just because Derek Lewis got knocked out by one of the top 3 fighters?
I mean, there's definitely less of a competition at that level for sure. But I do think that if you're exciting enough, I mean, just look at McGregor, like did it very quickly moving up in the UFC. I mean, there's guys like that can move up. Khabib even did it like very quickly in the UFC. So there's been like people that have done it. I think didn't Khabib end up with like a 12-1 record, 12-0? That's it. He's only had like 12 fights in the UFC.
UFC,
yeah. So
I mean, but he can do much.
Right. So it can happen, but you have to be really, really exciting. Like you got to be like a knockout artist or something crazy. And I don't know. This is gonna be an interesting topic for the future though. But anyways, this fight card. Ooh, what a fight card! And I'm gonna be excited to come back and talk to you about it. Do a little recap about this. But watching these fights is gonna be amazing.
Saturday, man.
So like we said, just to bring it back, that first fight, Cannonier versus Darren Brunson, I got Cannonier winning that one in a decision for me.
For a knockout.
Yep, you got the knockout. The second fight, Taito Uvasa versus Derek Lewis. I think Derek Lewis is gonna get that knockout in the 3rd round. I said, and you said the second.
Out in the second. Yep.
And then that final one, Adesanya versus Whitaker. I got Adesanya getting a submission in that 4th round. And you got to go into decision.
I got to go into decision, but I'm going to lean more towards the 4th round knockout. I think Izzy is going to want that knockout again.
Nice. Either way, Izzy still stays champ, and I love that. I love to see that. So we really appreciate you guys listening to this episode. And if you guys want to check us out on YouTube, if you want to watch the full episode, definitely check us out there or on our social media pages. And also, if you want to just listen to the episode, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. If you guys want to ask us questions, you know where to find us.
Exactly. We always here. We love interacting with our fans. Now that the NFL season is about to end, hop back more into NBA, but it also gives us a lot of time to do Well, give us a chance and you tell us what you want to hear for the summer.
Right.
At some time, we could throw out some episodes on what you guys want. So definitely, we want to know what you guys love to hear, especially if you're one of our supporters and you felt like you've been with us for a while. Let us know what you want, man. You definitely deserve that, and that's what we're here for, to give you the good sports content.
Of course, we always love talking about new debates and new topics. You know, I remember last year we brought a topic from a meme on Facebook, so you never know where we can get the topics from. So definitely hit us up, guys, and we'll try to give you guys the best content that we can. And again, we really appreciate you guys listening to this episode of Who You Got with
Mellow
and Rado. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.